marriage is hard for everyone. Listen, guys, marriage is hard work. All right? Marriage is hard work. Even when you marry an angel, it's going to be hard work to make it work. Marriage is hard work. Marriage is hard for everyone. Marriage doesn't discriminate. All right? It's hard for everyone. And celebrities are just people. Sometimes I think we put too much pressure on these celebs and we make them look like, oh, they have to always get it right. No, celebrities are just people like us. But they're just popular, or they're just on the public scene. They are people. And marriage is hard for everyone. It requires hard work. It requires dedication, requires learning and relearning, sometimes learning and unlearning what you learned before. So marriage requires hard work. And let's take it easy on the celebrities. They're just people, all right? And they too struggle the way we struggle, and they deal with what we deal with. So marriage is hard for everyone. That's the first point. Marriage is hard for everyone. So whenever you see people divorce, go through a hard time, please be more sympathetic, more patient, be more tolerant of what they're facing, and try not to be so judgmental, because you never know the full story. Marriage is hard for everyone. Now, this doesn't mean marriage cannot work, of course. There are a lot of beautiful marriages everywhere working. There are a lot of good testimonies. There are a lot of people that have had, 50 years of happy marriage. So sometimes when something happens to celebrity, we magnify it as if that becomes the way to rate that thing. That becomes the norm and the socially acceptable thing. We need to realize that celebrities are human beings, and they just represent a small fraction of the people, and they represent a small idea of the true reality of life, okay? So let's not overhype anything going on in a celebrity's life. They are just normal people, but marriage is hard for everybody, so it requires hard work. Number 2, marriage and genius in one area doesn't automatically translate in another area. This is important. Marriage or genius in one area doesn't translate to another area. All right, we know somebody like Bill Gates is totally a genius when it comes to what he does. Very knowledgeable, apparently, with what he does. He's one of the 10 richest men in the world. Interestingly, out of the 10 richest men in the world, 7 of them are divorced. There's a lesson there. I think there's a lesson there. Out of the 10 richest men in the world, I mean, these men, their combined wealth is richer than many countries. Out of the 10 richest men in the world, 7 of them are divorced. And the other 7, their stories are not over yet. So we don't know if Bill Gates can divorce at 27 years of marriage. This means that we don't even know how the remaining people's story is going to end. So there's a point there for us, is that genius or knowledge in one area doesn't automatically translate in another area. This is important. So this means that we must all keep exposing ourselves to learning and humbling ourselves to talk to experts in other areas. You see, one of the things that happens to people is that because they think they are knowledgeable in one area, they feel nobody can teach me. And this is what makes what Jesus said so powerful. He said, when you come into the kingdom, you must come as a child. And I think this is how you must approach everything in life. If you're a billionaire, when you come into marriage, you must come as a child. This means come ready to learn, come knowing that there are people that are more knowledgeable and gifted than you in that area. Nobody knows everything. Nobody is gifted in every area. That's why we all need each other, actually. So celebs might be gifted in one thing. I heard the story of Larry King. Larry King is one of the best presenters that broadcasters ever in the world. Was one of the big names in CNN. Broke a lot of records, broadcasting records. Phenomenal guy in terms of presenting and all that. But he was divorced like 8 times or something. About 7 or 8 times he was divorced. We saw Elizabeth Taylor too. I think we were married or divorced about 8 times. Now, these people clearly geniuses in their field, but it doesn't translate to other areas. So what should I do? You must humble yourself in the areas you're not naturally gifted. Don't translate the fact that you're gifted in singing to mean you're going to be gifted in marriage. Don't translate the fact that you're gifted in mathematics to mean you're going to be gifted in marriage. You must, when you come to marriage, if it's an area you're not doing very well, or you think you're not doing very well, even if you think you're doing well, always expose yourself to learning, to counseling. There are coaches, there are gifted people that can help, find the problems and help you fix it. So never be too proud to get help. No matter who you are, never be too proud to get help. Most people wait till it's too late, before they get help. So that's point number 2. Knowledge and genius in one area doesn't automatically translate in another area. All right? 7 out of the 10 richest men in the world are actually divorced. 6 are officially divorced. The 7th one was separated and living with another woman before his wife died. So we can say he was separated, was divorced lady. Point number 3. All right? Lesson we can learn from Bill and Melinda Gates' divorce is that money doesn't necessarily make marriage work. Money doesn't necessarily make marriage work. I live in Africa, and I'm surrounded by people that believe that, all you need to make marriage work is money. If I just have money, I can get married. If I have money, my wife will be happy. If I have money, my husband will be happy. Money doesn't necessarily make marriage work. If 7 out of the 10 richest men in the world, these are billionaires, can be divorced, this tells you that money is not as important as you think in a marriage. It's not as important as you think. There are a lot of other things that make a marriage work that is totally unrelated with your financial standing. There are a lot of other aspects that builds a marriage, and this is what I've been trying to get people to think. I have a video on YouTube here also titled 7 Things Every Man Should Provide. It was a classical coaching session I did for men, trying to show them that there are 6 other things that you need to in a marriage to make it strong, apart from money. Money is just one of the 7 things. Now, the video is on YouTube here. Please search it and watch it to bless you. All right? So, there are things that are more important than marriage. than money in marriage. But most people, especially in the part of the world I live in, because there's a lot of financial hardship, people just think if I just have money, it will solve all my problems. If billionaires are getting divorced, then you can't tell me money is as important as you think. Money shouldn't stop you from marrying a good person. Money shouldn't stop you from having a good marriage. There are a lot of other things people can make people happy in a marriage than money. In fact, most times when people say it was lack of money that made the marriage break, most of the time it wasn't the lack of money. There were other underlying issues that they didn't want to confront. There were other underlying issues that was not attended to that now made it look like it was money. It was never money. When marriage breaks, it's never money. It's usually a deeper issue, because some of the happiest couples are not rich at all. There are people that live under $1, even a month in my country. Trust me. There are people that live with under $1 a month, and some of them are still happily married. Okay? So money doesn't make marriage. Don't over prioritize making money. Because a lot of men even leave their homes. A lot of men and women even leave their marriages or stop giving attention to their family life because they're trying to make money. Because they think if I can bring in more money, we'll be happier. Don't fall into that trap, all right? Money doesn't make marriage work. Number four, the point we can learn from the divorce of Bill and Melinda Gates is that money influences relationships. Money can influence relationships. I know that sounds contradictory to the last one, but it's not. They're 2 different things. Money has a role to play. Now, I'm yet to find the exact correlation between money and divorce, but the top 10 richest men in the world, we can do a statistics from there. We can take a poll from there and see that there's something to notice there. If 7 out of the 10 richest people in the world are divorced, there is something there. Money has some kind of influence on people as regards relationship. Now, I might not have all the details, we'll not be able to discover all the reasons why, but from the little experiences I have, I've discovered that when people have money, their tolerance level is greatly reduced. Their patience level is reduced. When people just have money, they can't wait. If you notice how rich people roll in a lot of things, rich people fly business class or private jets or fly private, like you say in my country. This means, you see, they're not doing a lot of waiting for people. That's what it means. People serve them. You see, most times they're not privileged to serve a lot of people. They are getting things at the time they want it, the way they want it. They make decisions not based on how much it's going to cost. They just make decisions. You see, when a rich man gets somewhere and they said, these 3 things all work, but they work differently. You see, a poor person will investigate and say, let me pick one. The rich person will say, give me the 3. You see, if I use one, it doesn't work, I'll use the other one. See, so I'm just trying to say that there must be a correlation. I don't have all the facts yet, but I'm just saying there's definitely a correlation when people are rich. Because if 7 out of the 10 richest people in the world are divorced, something is going on there. Patience is affected, tolerance is affected, ego is higher when you are rich. When you are rich, you can just, I'm going to just change my wife this weekend, get another one. How much is it going to cost? You see, that's how rich people think. How much is it going to cost? If money can solve this thing, I'm going to get it done. So I'm thinking, I don't have the facts, so don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying there's clearly something going on, apparently. Even in my counseling sessions, I discovered that sometimes when a very rich person is in a relationship with somebody that is not so rich, that marriage even works better than when 2 very rich people are together, because nobody's going to take, nonsense from the other person. Because, in fact, I've actually counseled a couple where both of them just left their house and went to rent houses. You see, because they could afford it. You see, when you can afford the house, when somebody upsets you, you rent another house. That's what you do. But when you're broke, when somebody offends you, you go and sleep in the sitting room. You see, when you treat things are very different. When somebody upsets you, you travel to England. You go for holiday, say, I'm upset. Give me my passport. You call your agent, get me a ticket. I'm going to the airport, right? I'm traveling to London to rest. You see, when you are broke, when somebody upsets you, you go to the sitting room and drink water, cold water, chilled water, as they say in my country. I get what I'm saying. So there's a correlation somewhere. I think egos are super inflated when there's money. I think a lot of things goes on when two people, or when there's so much money in the mix, it kind of has a way of informing or affecting our tolerance, with each other. Okay. Point number 5. All right, point number 5. Please, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please go subscribe. Lots of helpful material there, and please share with a friend. Point number 5. It takes a lifetime to actually know a marriage that is successful. This is important. It takes a lifetime to know a successful marriage. You see, we make the mistake to assume that if this relationship can get to the wedding, then it's successful. And people congratulate you. That's the truth. People are happy for you. People clap for you. People congratulate you in fact, from the day you get to the proposal stage, that's where the party starts. Once a guy kneels down in public in a restaurant somewhere and proposes to a lady and the lady accepts it, you will see people cheering as if they succeeded. They are not successful yet. I have personally supervised many rings being returned from engagement level where they were proposed, ceremonious proposal. People were clapping, but when they started, before they even hit marriage, the thing broke down. So I had to supervise the returning of the ring to the owner. Sometimes we even help to sell the ring because the person that proposed is not worthy of returning the ring to him because we have to compensate for our pain. So the person who sell the ring, I've done all kinds of things as a counselor. All right. So I know gold sellers, people that sell gold and diamond, that buy gold and diamond now, because we have to help them say, go, you need to buy ice cream for you are hot. You need to deal with the pain, so we sell the engagement ring. So I'm just saying that we start clapping and celebrating for people at the wrong time. Even when you hit the wedding date, it's not yet successful. Even when you do 5 years in marriage, because we even quote and say, oh, I knew somebody that 2 people got married, they didn't even know each other, and now they're happily married. You don't know that. You don't know that. Because they've been married for 5 years doesn't mean they're happily married. Because there are basic principles of marriage sometimes that we try to teach people. So when we say, oh, it's good for you to be friends, it's good for you to know each other before you marry, people say, oh, no, but I know my cousin. My cousin just met somebody online. They never knew each other, but they're happily married. You don't know if they're happily married. Even if they have been 5 years together, it doesn't mean they're happily married. Even if they are 10 years together, it doesn't mean they're happily married. It takes a lifetime. It's at the end you will know that this marriage was successful. Marriage is like a journey, it's like a trip. If I'm going from New York to Philadelphia or to Maryland or to Washington, D.C. I might have left New York. It doesn't mean I've gotten to Maryland. It doesn't mean I've gotten to Washington. All right? Just because you've left singleness doesn't mean you have succeeded yet. It's at the end of the journey. It's like a flight. It's when you land that you have succeeded. Just because you've taken off from one airport doesn't mean the journey is successful. So you can't say because of 5 years of marriage or 10 years of marriage is successful. Bill and Melinda Gates divorced after 27 years. I'm wondering, how do people divorce after 27 years? But you see, as a counselor, as a marriage coach, I know it's very possible. And the marriage didn't break at 27 years, usually. The cracks were around. I'll get to that. So the point is that it takes a lifetime. It takes a lifetime to know a successful marriage. And like somebody said, we don't outgrow divorce. We only outwork it. That's powerful. He said, we don't outgrow divorce. We outwork it. So that's the key. So we must keep working and working and working on the marriage. No matter how many years we've been married, keep working on that marriage because it can crack at any time. We don't outgrow divorce. We outwork divorce. We work on the marriage to the point that it makes it to the end. It's till death do us part. It's at the end of the journey, you can know if a marriage was successful. Even 40 years, people divorce at 40 years. After 40 years of living together as husband and wife. All right, so it takes a lifetime for us to know. So next time you're quoting somebody's happily married, you don't know that yet. 10 years might not be enough to know if they are going to make it. Okay? I actually had a couple that told me that the only reason why their marriage even worked for as long as it did was that they were trying to prove me wrong. They were trying to make sure, it wasn't that what I told them happened. Because I had warned them before they got married, because they were definitely not a good fit. They were definitely crisis marriage. I saw all the signs were there. So the reason why they even made it to 2 or 3 years was because they were trying to prove me wrong. That the husband told me that the marriage had broken, from day one. They knew it wasn't going to work from day one. But they stayed up to 3 years or so because they were trying to just make sure. I don't want it to be that, this relationship coach told us and we still went ahead. Okay, so We don't outgrow marriage, we outwork it. All right? Point number 6, all right, is that cracks and issues in our marriages don't just go away. Issues in marriage doesn't just disappear. Many people just think time will heal all wounds. Are you kidding me right now? Time definitely does it. If time heals all wounds, we won't need hospitals. We won't need therapists. If time heals all wounds, we won't even need God. We will just all get healed with time. Nobody gets healed with time. You get healed with processes. You get healed with fixing what is wrong. Issues and cracks in your marriage doesn't just disappear. If you have issues now, it's better to deal with it now that it's still young, because it will only get worse. And the cracks can get to the stage where it becomes almost impossible to fix. All right, it's like any other ailment. People know that when you have cancer or other things, everybody tells you, if we can find it on time, we can solve it. It gets to a stage where nothing can be done. And many people allow their marriages to get to that stage where they can't fix it. Most problems are fixable if it can be detected on time and worked on time. So cracks and issues in your marriage doesn't just go away. If people can divorce after 27 years, it shows you that cracks and issues. Like I said earlier on, I don't think this marriage failed at 27 years. I don't think so. The marriage didn't just wake up and fail. There were underlying issues. There were issues existing that they both felt they could handle or that they could leave, cover it up, and it just existed. I don't know for sure if they ever saw a therapist or a counselor, but I feel that would have been a good thing to do, so that you can fix it and get it solved. Most problems just it's when they get exposed that we hear about it, but they've always existed. In my little time, over 20 years of being a counselor, I found out that most issues existed, even from day one. Some issues even existed before the marriage started. But everybody felt, oh, it won't be so serious. Oh, I can handle it. Oh, we can fix it. And when it gets to the boiling point, where they can't fix it, the tipping point, that's when we all now hear about it. And that might be 10 years in marriage, 5 years in marriage, 27 years in marriage. But the issue has always been there. Cracks and issues don't just go away in our relationships or marriages. So let's fix it when we can. And point number 7, and this is where I'm going to end for today. I hope this has been helpful to you. So point number 7 that we can learn from the divorce of Bill and Melinda Gates is that principles don't respect your status. Principles don't respect your status. Listen, principles are so powerful. Principles don't respect your mood. They don't respect how wealthy you are. They don't respect who you think you are. Principles are just principles. So the earlier you submit to principles, the better for you. You can't break principles. Principles can only break you. You can't change principles. All right? The earlier you learn that everything operates by principles, the better. I mean, if the wealthiest men, 7 out of 10 of them, can be divorced, I'm wondering, have you ever imagined what it's like to have $100 billion? I mean, it's difficult to imagine. Let's be honest, let's be fair. It's difficult to imagine what it's like to even have $1 million for many human beings. It's difficult to imagine. Do you know what it means to have $1 million in your account? Do you know what it means to even have $1 billion in your account? Literally, you can call your bank manager to come and see you tonight. Do you understand? You are